as experiences during my childhood. So the human brain, so first of all, when we are born and the baby's coming out through the birth canal, which is very narrow, the brain is the most underdeveloped organ that a human infant has because the birth canal is just not wide enough. So the brain goes through, it's one of the fastest growing organs in the first 5 years of life. So massive amounts of growth in the brain and a long infancy for human kids. After the age of 10 or 11 till about 19 or 20, the brain is actually culling neuron connections. So it goes through a rapid increase in connections in the first 5 years, then it slows down, and then after that, it starts culling connections, and it's actually optimally set up at that window of time. That's the only window of time in our entire lives to specialize. And so if you are able to put a lot of time and energy into what eventually becomes your calling in life, you get a huge head start. And one of the problems we have as kind of modern humans is that in that period of time, our education system and society expects us to be generalists. So you are, sent to school and you have a set of subjects and you have a set of things you do. And really the ability to specialize is for the most part non-existent. It may happen a little bit when you're 17 or 18 and may happen a little bit when you enter college, but basically the window closes by the time the specialization starts. And we end up with some quirks, like you end up with people like Bill Gates, who from the age of 11 or so went all in on computers and programming. So by the time he was 18 or 19, he had spent more than 10,000 hours coding. And a 40-year-old could not compete with a 25-year-old Bill Gates just because of that period of time where he completely specialized. With Warren Buffett, he bought his first stock when he was 11 or 12. He read every finance book in the Omaha Public Library before he was 14 or 15. So, and his father was a stockbroker. He'd go to his office every weekend. So Warren got a lot of kind of expertise in investing very early in that window of time. And if we look at people like Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci and so on, and go back, you will see that a lot of the greats were able to, it used to be, we still have that situation in Germany where they start separating out the kids when they're 13 or 14, where if you're going to go work in a factory, you actually start doing apprenticeships and all of that in factories in Germany when you're 13 or 14. And so Germany is interesting, where it's a manufacturing powerhouse with some of the highest labor costs in the world. So China hasn't been able to uproot German manufacturing because of the quality of the workforce. And the quality of the workforce is that high in Germany because they specialize that early. And so in my case, what happened is my father was an entrepreneur, but he kind of clockwork, every 3 or 4 years, he went out of business, whatever he was doing. He was always really good at starting businesses, identifying opportunities, but he was always undercapitalized, didn't have enough money. And when the business was doing well, he just, pushed on all cylinders, maxed the leverage, maxed everything he could. And then the first headwinds that showed up would destroy the company. And then my parents they didn't save. So we would go from feast to famine quite regularly. So when I was around, after I was 11 or 12, my brother and my father would sit down with us in the evening and we'd have to figure out how to make the business last for one more day. All the walls are caving in, all the creditors are coming in. It's just, it's collapsing and it's a very kind of intense time. And all of that is affecting, we don't have money for rent, we don't have money for groceries, all of that. So we'd make it through one day. And then the next night was, how do you make it survive one more day? And when I was 15 or 16, I used to go on sales calls with my dad. And I never realized that any of these things with my, the neurons and all of that, that I think I finished several MBAs before I was 18. And so I can actually look at businesses and figure them out pretty quickly, probably because of a lot of experience and thinking about business in those years. So even though I was working, going to generalist schools and all of that, there was a decent amount of time that went into all of these things. So later when I actually heard about Buffett and started reading, a lot of things actually came to me pretty easily because I had looked at so many issues with these companies and businesses. I also learned from my dad how to start businesses with nothing. And so that was a great gift I got from him, which helped me get my first business off the ground because I didn't have any money when I was doing that. And so I think that experience helped me a lot. Then when I started running my business, obviously there was more direct experience I got. And then when I, actually got a proper framework from Buffett and Munger and so on, then that just overlaid everything else and it worked out. So actually for me, I'm just accidentally right place at the right time and pretty lucky, I would say. So it worked out well. Yeah.